This is the podcast.
I see. So then we have started.
We have, but not officially.
Okay, great. So we can edit this out in post.
I could if I wanted to, or I could leave it in.
No, keep it in.
Or should I keep it in?
Yeah,
If you insist.
I always do.
I'll let you call all the shots.
Great. Okay.
But I should do some sort of introduction, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, do the introduction.
All right. In that case, I'm just going to look at the camera, and then I'll introduce you. Really, I'll introduce the podcast, and then I'm just going to say your name, and then I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay.
Are you prepared?
Yes.
You've got a water. There's an extra water over
Okay.
there if you need one.
Okay. So how many lifelines do I have left?
Oh, you have them all.
Okay, good.
Yeah, as many lifelines as you need. If you want to
Phone a friend.
phone a friend,
Okay.
or ask the audience, or
Okay.
whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Cool.
So let's start the show.
Let's do it.
Ready? Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm Jim Schneider, and this is my podcast thing. It's called Work in Progress, where I talk to my friends about the work they do and why they do it and the challenges they face and how they overcome those challenges and what they love about their work and how they got to be where they are and where they want to go and so on. And my guest today is this guy right over here. His name is Baz Ali. Baz and I have known each other for going on 20 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Not quite there yet,
Almost.
but close.
Yeah.
So Baz, if you would please tell the audience what you do for a living.
Sure. So I'm a digital marketing manager in the charity industry, and I've been in marketing for about since 2015. And then before that, I was doing that more on an amateur level, helping out with an improv comedy group and perhaps doing some light marketing for them here or there. And so, yeah, it's been a wild ride since I got back to Canada in 2015. And really, I mean, I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to see my friend James after such a long time. And let's hope that this is both entertaining and educational.
Or neither. I mean, maybe it won't be either one of those.
I think I'm going to do my best to prevent it from being either one of those.
Well, so yeah, let's back up a little bit and address some of the things that you said there. So you mentioned coming back to Canada. So First of all, I want to point out that we're in Toronto, Canada. Sort of. We're in Mississauga.
Close enough, yeah. Mississauga. Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised that you pronounced that correctly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the U.S. is full of names like that, so I've grown accustomed to the pronunciations.
That's
Sometimes. I get it right about half the
Geez,
time.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I went to grab the agua, but I missed the agua. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Is that the little mnemonic device that you teach people?
That's right.
And I'm here visiting you because tomorrow, it's a big day for you.
Yes. I'm getting married tomorrow.
Yeah, he's getting married.
Yeah.
So I'm here for the wedding, and I'm very happy to be here. You and I haven't seen each other we just discussed it, 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, a long time. We met up in New York. I was just about to go to Shanghai, and you were visiting from Toronto.
Yeah.
And you mentioned coming back to Canada around 2015. So where were you?
Yeah, so I was in Japan, as you know, from basically 2008 to 2015 with a year in between. Mm-hmm. And then before that, Toronto. And then before that, Korea, because that's where we met. James and I were teachers in Korea back in
South
2000.
Korea.
Yeah, that's right.
In Seoul.
Yeah, yeah. 2006 and 7. And so who would have thought that after university where I studied acting that I would choose to pursue teaching overseas? Mm-hmm. And then from that, pivoting and becoming a digital marketer. So certainly when I said it was a wild ride, it has been. It's been very fulfilling. It's been surprising and ultimately rewarding.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I can see how acting lends itself to teaching. Yeah. Right? Because you are putting on a performance at times, in a classroom, especially when you're in a room full of kids, when your students are kids, you sort of go the extra mile to entertain them, right?
act like, I'm impressed or, I'm proud of them.
You want to be there.
Exactly. Well, I mean, certainly acting and teaching are similar in that an actor is trying to, is feeling emotions and is trying to translate the thoughts and things that they're feeling so that the audience can see it and relate to it and be emotionally affected by that. Whereas teaching, you're trying to convey thoughts and ideas and impart knowledge. So it's communication, but just with a different aim, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so. Communication, as is marketing.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, they do all kind of tie in.
Yeah, for sure.
In a way. So you studied acting here in Toronto.
Yeah, that's right.
4 years. 5 years?
Yeah, 4 years. It was a very intense conservatory program, York University, the acting program. And I don't want to toot my own horn too much.
Toot away.
Well, all right. So to audition to get in. So first of all, to get into first year, you have to audition. And then afterwards, you got to audition again to get into the acting stream. And so I suppose of the 1,000 some odd people who auditioned to get into first year, 125 get in. And then from the 125, only 16 get in for the second year. And so it was pretty hard to get in. I was really pleased. It was an intense program and I had no life. So essentially class from, what was it? Movement class from 9 to 11, voice from 11 to 1, lunch from 1 to 2, acting from 2 to 5, 5 to 6 dinner, and then rehearsal from 6 to 10. Generally was your day.
Yeah, that's a packed schedule.
And then rehearsal on Saturdays from 10 to 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what were some of the shows that you were in?
Love's Labor's Lost. On the spot? Yeah, it's been such a long time.
Who were you in that one? Mercutio?
No, it was Armado. Hey,
Romeo?
Yeah, I was King Lear in Love's Labor's Lost. There was one other show, but it escapes me now. But yeah, it was good. It was cool. It was a good experience. If I had to do it all over again, I'm not sure if I would have got into acting. I perhaps would have done linguistics or something geography related.
Yeah, you are a lover of geography.
For sure.
Which maybe that will come in handy later, because later on we're going to do a little segment. I'm going to test your knowledge of Canada
Of
and
Mississauga?
Canadian trivia. Not necessarily Mississauga, but perhaps the surrounding area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we'll get into that later.
Great.
Okay, so you graduate this acting school, and did you ever do any singing?
The program was geared towards acting, so it wasn't musical theater. We took singing classes, but it was more just as an extra tool for the actor as opposed to, you're going to go into musical theater, so you gotta dance, you gotta sing. It wasn't like that. It was more like, you gotta dance, you gotta sing. Yeah.
So you're just a single threat.
Not even. A mild threat.
Okay. I got to be honest, I don't feel threatened right now, but it's partly because I've known you for a long time and we're both sitting down.
Yeah, for sure. I'm more threatening standing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, or behind the wheel of a car. Right?
No,
No, not like that. More like, get out of my way. Me.
Yeah, a little road rage.
That's the sound of the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't suffer from road rage, do you?
I suffer from others' road rage. And no, I do get frustrated behind the wheel, but I try my best to keep it to a low grumble. So I'm always grumbling to myself. Yeah.
Sometimes I get real nasty, but just in my mind. You know what I mean?
That's the best when you get like you take all the emotions,
tamp it down,
right?
Bottle it up,
right into a little ball. Remember that at the hockey game?
It'll explode.
Yeah.
Wait, what's that?
Remember that at the hockey game when it punched the referee, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Simpsons reference.
Sorry.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You and I became friends in large part because of The Simpsons. I mean, similar sense of humor, but we had all these things in common with regard to, comedy, cartoons that we liked, especially The Simpsons.
For sure. Yeah.
There's kind of a Simpsons quote for every occasion.
Certainly. Yeah. Well, back in those days, I think 90% of my comedic material was from The Simpsons. Right? But yeah, I mean, I think you and I really hit it off because I'd like to think of myself as reasonably intelligent, and you're a very smart guy, very talented guy. And so I think we just got along like two peas in a pod, right? Yeah, shared a lot of the same interests and just on the same wavelength, I think.
Yeah, or at least like two pea pods in the same bowl.
Two peas that found themselves in the same package of mixed vegetables in the freezer.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Frozen aisle.
Exactly.
Because we're chill, baby.
I see I am not needed here.
I'm gonna edit that out. Yeah, so we met in Korea after you became a teacher. But how did you make the decision to go to Korea after, acting in university?
A great question. Essentially, it was a fork in the road. And so during not teachers college, during the time that I was in the acting program, in the summer times, I was a camp counselor teaching drama, right? I was the drama guy. And so I was like,
Nerd, though, right?
Drama, I was, acting
Drama
like a nerd.
nerd.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah. Like slick back hair and the glasses and stuff like that. Pants hiked all the way up to here, which was a luxury.
Pocket protector.
Yeah, it kept falling out, right? Yeah, because you're playing dodgeball and anyways. And so I discovered that I actually have a knack for teaching and I have a passion for teaching. And so when I graduated from York University, in debt from from OSAP, and I thought, well, I can go into acting, follow my passion, and maybe make it big and and have lots of money and stuff, or be a struggling artist for I don't know how many years, because there is no in between, or I can pursue teaching because I like that as well, and see Korea or wherever and go for a year and have some cool experiences. And so I chose that. So it's funny how going halfway across the world to a country I've never been to was somehow the safer choice, the less risky choice.
Yeah. Well, it's most of the time a reliable paycheck, right? Whereas acting is not necessarily, or
That's right.
you spend a lot of your time, waiting tables or making coffee or whatever.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Or selling various body parts. Livers in 2006 were not worth what they are now. I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, because people started drinking during the pandemic, I think.
Yeah. See, we're in peak liver right now, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's market saturation coming up, I think. Coming up.
For sure. There's an organ crash coming up, but we're not there yet.
Yeah. All right. So you go to Korea. You and I meet there. You stay there a year-ish, a year plus.
Year and a month.
Okay, year and a month.
Yeah. Come back to Canada.
And then when you came back, you already knew that you wanted to go to Japan, right?
Right. Because as you remember in Korea, I had an interest in Japan and Japanese, and I studied some Japanese while I was there.
Anime. Because you do the drawings.
The drawings, exactly. It was more, It was more stick figures.
Yeah.
But I'd like to call them anime, right? Yeah. And so, came back to Canada. I was doing this job where I was teaching people how to use computers. They would call in and we would connect remotely, which for 2007 was rare. It was very forward thinking. We'd connect to their computer remotely, which oftentimes, it was a half an hour call. Most of the time, the half hour was spent trying to get connected to their computers. Then it's like, okay, well, we're connected now. Thanks for using our service.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't solve their problem. But in the rare case that we did get connected within 5 minutes, then we could spend time to address their issue and teach them something along the way. And so the job was great. Everything about the job was great except the actual job, because dealing with the people on the other end of the line, God bless them, it's like, okay, Mr. Smith, now it's time to start. So click the start button. What do you mean? There's no start button. Well, actually, it's on the bottom left corner of your screen. It's labeled start. I don't see it. So, yeah.
Patience is required.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of which I guess, And so that wasn't for me. And so I thought, you know what, let's go back to Korea. But by that point, the won and the dollar, see, this is pre-peak liver. By that point, the won and the dollar had a bad exchange rate. And so I'm like, okay, so now is the time to go to Japan, I think. And so I went. 1 year became 3. Went back to Canada for teachers college, went back to Japan, and then 3 years became 3 years, and then I went back to Canada.
So how long is teachers college? Was that a year?
At that time, it was 1 year.
1 year.
Now it's 2
What
years.
is it now? It's 2 years now?
Yeah.
Trying to milk the
That's
students.
it, trying to just squeeze every last.
Squeeze that Canadian dollar teat.
That's
right
it,
out of
that's
the
right. They're
kiddos.
squeezing loonies and toonies out of the students there, and I don't like it.
Well, college, university, education's expensive,
For sure. Yeah.
So But you paid all that off, right?
Yeah, yeah. I remember the day that I did pay it off. It was great. I marched myself down to the bank and I marched. And they weren't open, so, you know. So I marched myself back to the car, grumbling. But yeah, I remember the day that I paid it off. It was a really big achievement,
Yeah, that must have felt great.
for sure.
I still have some loans to pay off, but you know, one day it's going to feel good.
For sure.
I'm already anticipating the feeling of getting them paid off, so
Nice.
I can only imagine how good that feels.
Feels good.
So in total, you spent 6 years in Japan?
Right, yeah.
In Osaka the whole time?
Mainly. So Osaka, then Hiroshima, rural Hiroshima, then back to Osaka, and then mainly, then yeah, just Osaka for the last 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and you came and visited me a few times, right?
A few times, yeah.
Yeah.
And I really liked Osaka. It reminded me of Seoul in a bit, actually.
Yeah.
The food was excellent. Okonomiyaki, I enjoyed eating that.
Yeah.
Takoyaki.
Oh yeah.
And we went to Kyoto and had some very good soba noodles, I think, in Kyoto.
Right. Yeah. Went to Tokyo as well.
Yeah, a different time. We
Right,
met
yeah,
in
different trip.
Tokyo. And Tokyo was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Japan is really nice. I would like to have the chance to go back there and see even more of it, you know.
Maybe a Japan A to Z.
Ooh, I hope so. You
That'd
could
be
help me
great.
out with that.
I would love to.
Have you seen a lot of the country?
Yeah. Yeah. There are still some places that I haven't been to in Japan. There's lots of things to see and do there. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of places that I've been to. I'm a big onsen guy, big hot spring guy. So some of the highlights were like driving to rural, I think it's Wakayama Prefecture, one of those prefectures, and you go there. It takes like 6 hours to drive there, and so you get there and you park the car and you walk onto it's just a river, and you walk onto the riverbank and you're stepping onto the stones and you can feel the heat emanating from your feet, from beneath you.
right.
And you go into the water and it's just a regular river. But like the further down, the more you dig, the more the water heats up. And so you can create your own personal onsen. It's amazing.
Wow.
It's so cool.
So what part of the country is that in? Is it?
That is closer to Nachi no Taki, which is like a famous waterfall. I would say it's central Japan. It's tough to describe. Osaka's here and you go southwest for a bit, for a long time. And that's where it is. It's certainly off the beaten path.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were driving in Japan, is that right?
Yeah,
And in Japan, for those who don't know, you drive on the opposite side of the road as you do here
Yeah.
in Canada.
Yeah.
Was that a difficult adjustment? Did you ever almost die crossing the street or kill someone else while you were driving?
Not when I was driving, but certainly I did have my fair share of kills. I think, just joking. Seriously, just joking. So I taught in rural Hiroshima, and they gave me a car for the year. And I remember one day getting out of school, and I exited the parking lot, and someone was coming right at me. And I'm like, look at this stupid idiot. Bang, bang, bang. And then I realized I'm on the wrong side. I'm the idiot.
Yeah.
And so after that, I quickly clued in. I'm like, no. And so it never happened after that. Funny story, though. And I don't know if I should tell it. So the speed limits in Japan, I think, for the most part, are artificially low. And so in Hiroshima, when I lived there at the time, in a 50 zone, I would often go 70. And
that's common.
Yeah, very common. But it opens you up to get pulled over for speeding. And so I did inevitably one day, and I pulled the Gaijin card, Gaijin meaning foreigner. Right? And so the Gaijin card or the Gaijin smash is where you take advantage of the fact that you're not Japanese and you perhaps feign that you can't speak any Japanese, even though I did at the time. And so the policeman stopped me and he tried to converse with me and explained to the fact that I was speeding. And I pretended like I didn't speak any Japanese. And so there was a lengthy back and forth, and he, went back to his car and called it in. And then, the result at the end, he came and he's, all he said to me at the end was just like, no speedo. And he let me off with, I guess, a quasi warning. Right. And so I'm not proud that I pulled the Gaijin card or I did the Gaijin smash, but certainly it did come in handy that time.
Yeah, and it can be useful to at least feign ignorance a lot of the time with this foreigner card.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get away with quite a bit in certain places when you just pretend like you have no idea what you're doing.
Was it you who I was with in Korea where no, sorry, I was with someone else. We were at a picnic and I saw a family having a barbecue.
Yeah.
And I couldn't read the air, so to speak. I didn't know. I was the typical Wayguk,
Yeah.
typical foreigner. And so I went over to them having a barbecue and I said, that looks really good. And then they were obligated to like give me some of their barbecue.
Yeah.
I didn't know them at all.
Yeah.
Right? Just some weird foreigner like, oh, that looks so good. And they're like, oh, really? Would you like to have some? In like broken English.
Oh boy, yeah, here we go. Another one.
Because it happens to them often.
Well, Korean people, I always found them to be really warm and friendly. You know, in a situation like that, like
Yeah.
you're at a park or if you're out for a hike, people will often stop and, you know, take out their equipment and set up a little lunch. And if they see you, you know, recognize you as a foreigner, they're more than happy to invite you over, or sometimes go over to you and offer you something like kimbap or, you know, or barbecue in this case. But
Super hospitable.
yeah, can be.
Remember when we were in Guangzhou? I think it was Guangzhou,
Yes.
right? Would you
Yeah.
want to tell the story of Munshi?
No, you tell it.
So we had seen the bamboo forest and it was getting late. It was amazing, by the way. And we were both, you know, young, strapping lads out for a night on the town in rural, bum. I can't swear, but I mean, in very rural Korea. And it was getting late. We had to get back to the city. And we didn't have accommodations lined up, if I remember correctly.
Right.
And we didn't know how to get back to the city. And all of a sudden, as we were at this bus stop, or I don't know where we were, but someone noticed that we were kind of out of towners, and I guess we needed help. We gave off that kind of feeling.
Somehow we gave off the clueless, hopeless, idiot vibe.
Right? And so this guy, Munshik, came up to us and he spoke English and he said, hey, would you like to stay at my place? And we thought, okay, well, this is a little weird, right? But maybe we could get some barbecue out of it. And so we went and we go there and his family owned this B&B. And
Yeah.
they had like homemade ice cream. It was 10 p.m. They cooked us this meal.
Yeah.
Munshik was a great host.
Yep.
We stayed at a hotel room. We were woken up by roosters, I think, at 6 a.m. Munshik drove us back. He and his family drove us back to the city the next day. So that was certainly an example of Korean hospitality.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
One of many.
Yeah, that's not at all rare, right?
Yeah.
And this is, you know, pre-Uber, pre-Lyft, pre-Airbnb or hotel.com or whatever. So
Yeah.
we were kind of in dire straits.
We didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we could have ended that night just sleeping under the stars.
Yeah. Getting eaten alive by bugs.
Yeah, which would have been its own kind of adventure. But we were much better off meeting Moonshik.
Yeah.
So you made the decision to leave Japan, come back to Canada, and I imagine you were kind of, had you already decided that you wanted to get involved in marketing? Because you mentioned doing some marketing work for your improv comedy group in
Light
Japan.
work. Yeah, sure.
Light work, okay.
Yeah.
So you're marketing lights.
Marketing light. Oh, yes. So exactly, there was a big sign that says marketing, right?
Yeah.
For each and every show, and I was the one that would press the button because we couldn't afford the flash.
Yeah, right.
So I'd have to turn it off and on. So I was literally the marketing guy.
Would you like switch it off and on?
was a
Like
button.
a strobe light effect?
Yeah, if I wasn't in the scene. So instead of the applause sign, it was marketing. It didn't quite make sense, but we thought it was funny. Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if anyone watching will think that that's funny.
No, I can guarantee you that.
It's a joke, by the way.
Yeah.
But light marketing. By light marketing, what do you mean?
I suppose just social media posts and stuff like that. So I mean, it was it was not in depth. I mean, coming to Canada and starting to write blog posts, running ads on Google and Facebook and other platforms. But doing, blog work is SEO work, but writing emails and crafting automated email journeys, all that stuff, analyzing stats to arrive at insights that guide recommendations on future campaigns. I wasn't doing any of that. Certainly the leader of the group was on Photoshop and doing wonderful work on creating posters and stuff like that. And they did things where they held up signs, and these weren't marketing signs. These were real signs that actually said coherent,
Yeah.
topical things. And they would be kind of raising awareness of the fact that they were doing improv comedy. And so they would go to Umeda Station, like a very downtown, like central station, and like there's this big escalator. So they'd be holding up signs. So as you're like going up the escalator, you'd see these non-Japanese holding up signs, and then you get up onto the top of the escalator, and like they'd give you a high five. So they were doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so they were doing that before I joined. But yeah, certainly if I had joined early, I would have loved to have participated in those kinds of marketing efforts instead of just
you would have
being
been great at that.
relegated to the sign, the light.
What was the name of your improv comedy group?
It was the Pirates of the Dotonbori. It's disbanded now. Now it's just the Tokyo group.
Oh, was there also a Tokyo group at that time?
At that time, yes. And so Mike Staffa, the creator of the Osaka group, eventually went to Tokyo, and he founded the sister group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have to audition for that?
I did, yeah.
And they let you in?
Out of the 1,000 people who auditioned, they let in 125. But yeah, you had to audition to get into the group. It wasn't, it's a small kind of group, but you had to audition. You had to show your acting chops, or at least, it's the sign. I keep getting back to that, right? You gotta be able to flicker that sign.
Yeah.
Right? 30 flicks per minute. Yeah.
But so that's one of the things you have in your tool belt, right? Your acting tool belt.
Yeah.
You got improv.
Yeah.
You can do a little singing,
A little bit. Little singing, little dancing. Yep.
Drama.
Yeah, I like to think of myself as a dramatic guy. I'm always trying to start arguments. So, yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Is that over? Well, do you ever get over dramatic?
All the time.
Do you ever get melodramatic?
Sometimes.
Okay. What else is there? There's
I think that's
over
it.
dramatic, melodramatic, just plain dramatic.
What if I suppose there's a hypodramatic, right? Hyper being, right? So hypo, if you don't react to anything and you're not really, so yeah, I suppose when I'm sleeping, I'm a bit hypodramatic.
And acting's all about reacting, right?
To act is to react, right? Yeah. Sometimes I don't even pay attention to my scene partner. I'm not even taking in what they're giving me. I'm just,
Just admitting.
That's the antithesis.
I tried acting in college and I was very bad at it.
What? But you're so funny. You're so good. How could you be bad at something that you excel at?
Maybe being funny, but emotion, displaying emotion. I'm not in tune with my emotions at all, and so I can't pretend.
Okay.
Yeah, everything gets tamped. It's all a ball in there.
Right. You don't want to tap into the ball because then it's like one of those cans with the snakes that come out of it, right? You think it's nuts, but it's not.
Right. It's a barrel of monkeys.
That's it, right? Yeah.
So I never really gave acting a shot, but I'm sure I would suck at it. I was not good in that class, but it was a fun class sometimes. Okay, so you came back to Canada with the marketing bug. And
actually, I came back to Canada. I auditioned. Sorry, I didn't audition. I interviewed for like hundreds of teaching jobs, and I didn't get anything.
Right.
And so I'm like,
teaching what?
I'm a certified teacher for Ontario, so I tried to get into various school boards. And so I did get a job teaching Japanese at the time for the Toronto District School Board, but the hours were so few, I needed a full-time job. And so I'm like, I need a job. And so I took a chance, started applying for marketing jobs, and my stepbrother worked for a company, and they needed a marketing guy, like a real marketing guy, not, with the light. And so he put my interview on the top of the pile. When you live overseas and you speak a different language, day in, day out, you start to lose your perspicacity. And let me tell you, it's not in the last place you left it. And so when I interviewed for this job, it was, I think, one of the worst, or if not the worst interview I've ever done. Couldn't speak. When you don't speak English a lot or your native language, you lose the ability to speak in paragraphs. And so I would try to explain it and answer the question, but just a single sentence would come out and I'd be at a loss for words. And so the interview, I had bombed it, but I emailed the person afterwards and I said, hey, you know what? I know I didn't do well. And my stepbrother vouched for me. And I said, let me just put together a presentation. I'll email to you when the weekend is done. Take a look at it and let me know. And I did that. I busted my hiney getting this presentation done for him. Sent it. It was great. 1 week probation turned into 1 month, and then the rest was history. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So define perspicacity for anybody who doesn't know, because I know what it means, but maybe some people out there don't know, or that English might not be their first language.
Yeah.
What do you mean by perspicacity?
I suppose it's a portmanteau. So purse, coming from perspire. So it's a hot and heavy word, I think, because it often makes people sweat when they hear it and when they say it. So I guess it's the act of perspiring after eating some kind of pepper in a city environment, in an urban environment. So that's, and so I suppose the usage was a bit liberal, small l, liberal. But yeah, so that's how I would define perspicacity. It's not verbose. It's not like you have a large vocabulary.
Improv. This is improv, folks. Improv 101 over here. You can look it up.
But that's what it is. I suppose it's a person who has a large vocabulary and who I suppose uses the vocabulary eloquently.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the improv that I did just now wasn't really good. I mean, perspire for sure, city at the end, but like what's the capiscapum? Like there's like the cap something that's a component of peppers. That's what I wanted to fit in there. But
capsaicin?
That's it,
Yeah.
right? Had I done that, that would have been the triple threat instead of the mild threat that it ended up.
It worked. I picked up what you were putting down there.
Thanks.
As irritated as I got by that long-winded bit. Okay, but you make a very good point, because I experienced the same thing coming back from living in other places in Asia. Like I lived in Korea and China. And you do lose your ability to communicate in your native language. It dissipates. But you can get it back, and you've been back in Canada for a while. Have you regained your perspicacity and your ability to speak in paragraph form?
I found it. I found my perspicacity. And I am never going to let it go.
Yeah, you hang on to that until you get dementia.
Wasn't that a song, Hang On to Your Hang On to Your Perspicacity? I think I just made it up.
Oh, who was that, a Celine Dion
Maybe.
tune?
Yeah. Hang on to your perspicacity.
Or is that who is that? Who's that band? The Canadian band. Everybody loves them in Canada.
The Tragically Ship.
Or the Hip is
Yes, Hip. Yeah, the Hip.
Yeah, were you a fan?
Not such a big fan. Although in later I did become kind of more open. What am I trying to say? I'm not a fan. They grew on me. So Ahead by a Century is in my repertoire for karaoke. And so, I bust it out every now and then.
Oh, okay. So you're a big karaoke guy.
I like to think so, yeah.
And that's a thing in Japan, obviously, right? Do you still sing karaoke here?
Yeah, I do.
How often do you go?
It's at home. And so I got a karaoke machine. I am amateur at best. But yeah, I suppose once a month I bust out the karaoke machine, and the cat goes crazy, and the neighbor downstairs complains, but that doesn't bother me.
Yeah, screw them.
That's right.
You gotta get that karaoke in.
Dun, 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 right?
You deserve it.
That's it, yeah, for sure. This is my perspicacity, not yours. Yeah.
Yeah, so you own your perspicacity and your karaoke.
For sure, yeah.
Okay, well, getting back to work. So you have that initial marketing job, and then you've done a couple other things since then.
Yeah.
What would you say was the biggest challenge for you starting out and getting to where you are?
Great question.
Not really. I did not phrase that question it was very poorly phrased. But you know what I mean. What's a challenge that you faced? What was the greatest challenge that you faced along your journey from beginning marketer to where you are now?
I'd say imposter syndrome. And I think a lot of people can relate.
Sure, yeah.
Because not really having much marketing experience and being thrust into this marketing job, I really had to learn as I was going along. And so it's not to say that they didn't get value out of me. They certainly did.
Yeah.
I am and was a hard worker, and I really made a big splash immediately and brought them lots of money, which is great. But it very much was, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I'm experimenting, learning on the job. And instead of actually, going to university or college for this, they were paying me. And so certainly at that job, I was there for 3 years. There was a very strong sense of imposter syndrome because I really didn't know what I was doing. And then the next job, I was a marketing manager and I interview well. Not tonight, but I generally interview well.
No, you're doing great.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, great. Thanks, James.
This guy, by the way, he's been planning a wedding for the last however many months. And,
Kitchen renos, living room renos,
yeah,
right? New job.
yeah,
Yeah.
all kinds of things. So I think you can be forgiven for if you feel like you're answering any questions poorly, which I don't think you are. I think you're doing great, but that would explain why.
Okay. Thanks, James. I appreciate that. I became marketing manager for the next job, and I felt like an even bigger imposter. So the challenge for me was just learning on the job, having the self-confidence to, put forth ideas and propose strategies, even though I felt like I didn't know what the heck I was talking about.
Yeah.
And that feeling didn't go away until perhaps my fourth marketing job, where all of a sudden I was like, I actually, because I was interacting with vendors and stuff and third-party marketing agencies, and some of the things that they would propose, I would say, well, actually, wait a minute. I don't think that's the right course of action, and this is why. And it turned out that I was right.
Yeah.
So after a while, I'm like, you know what? I do know what I'm talking about now.
And so how long did it take for you to feel like you knew what you were talking about?
4 years.
4
The
years,
length of a
yeah.
university degree.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, which I should have gotten before I got into marketing, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe not.
Well, what do they call that? Baptism by fire?
Yeah.
Right? Just throw you in and let you figure it out.
Yeah.
But, I think there's something to be said for that as well.
Yeah.
Because you're bringing to this job all these other, talents and bits of knowledge that you've acquired and,
Yeah, for sure. And, not to your level, but certainly I do consider myself an adequate writer. And so you just kind of hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as if I can't bring any skills to the table, right? I certainly do have skills and they're transferable to marketing to some degree. So yeah, I mean, it was a struggle, it was a slog, it was hard work, but I think that if someone applies themselves and if they have a certain base level of knowledge and I don't want to toot my own horn, intelligence, then they could also do what I've done and what other people have done as well, and probably surpass where I've ended up thus far.
Mm-hmm. And when you have this imposter syndrome, do you just fake it?
Yeah, you fake it till you make it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you abide by that.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there are lots of people out there who are faking it until they make it. I think it's rare for someone to not feel like, at least when they start a new job, to feel like, like, I really don't know what I'm doing, or like, yeah. And that goes away, but, or maybe it's just me. Maybe everyone else in the world has their stuff together and it's just little old Baz navigating the waters in his canoe.
I think it's 90-10. 90% of people out there have no idea what they're doing. They're totally clueless.
Yeah.
We like to think that our teachers, professors, doctors, have a clue what they're doing. But I think a lot of times they don't. Or at least when it comes to their jobs, we certainly hope that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But daily life, I think a lot of people have no idea. It's just one day at a time.
For sure. Doctors are one thing, but certainly teachers, there are times when it's like the teacher's a chapter ahead of the students or like one page ahead of the students. It happens, especially when you're teaching a subject that you're forced to teach and that's not actually within your qualifications. It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're not an imposter anymore, are you?
I don't think so.
You made it.
For sure. Senior manager, and I'm doing well every campaign, not every campaign. The campaigns that I'm working on have been successful thus far. I think I bring tremendous value. I'm going to continue to work hard. And I like working in the charity industry, right? As a teacher, I guess one of the reasons why I wanted to get into teaching is because, I guess what I want to do on this earth is make the world a better place. And how do I do that? How do I do that as an actor? Well, if I can, if I can make people feel a certain way and they're better as a result of it, then great. I can do that to one person or many people. Same with teaching. If I can teach and impart my knowledge and make that student a better person, then I can actually affect positive change on the world one student at a time. As a marketer, well, it depends on the company I'm working for. Certainly, working for a major charity, I know that I'm making the world a better place. Maybe it's indirectly, but that's what fuels me as well, aside from the intrinsic motivation to do a good job.
Okay, wow, what a fantastic answer to that question. I was going to ask you what you love about marketing, but I mean, I think that you've kind of answered it. At least what you love about marketing for a charity, right? Doing good, bringing good to this earth.
I hope so. I hope so.
What a good guy, good man.
I try.
Okay, well, is there anything that you hope to do? What do you hope to accomplish in your future? What's in store for Baz in the next, how long have you got left?
2 years.
A couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'd like to get into politics.
Oh.
And some people kind of laugh at that, and some people, and I guess rightly so. Again, trying to affect positive change. I think being a politician and kind of making decisions and influencing policy that can really shape future generations and make and have a huge impact on people's daily lives, like in the near term and in the present. That's something that speaks to me. I think that I can speak well.
Eloquent.
Perspicacious. Is that a word? Yeah, perspicacious. Yeah, look at me. I don't know if this interview has tanked my chances. This podcast has tanked my chances, but certainly in the future, I'd like to try for politics.
Yeah, one of your opponents will unearth this interview and use it against you for sure.
I would hope so. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, they wouldn't be doing their jobs if they didn't.
Right.
Okay, so what kind of office would you like to hold?
I guess starting with municipal and then working my way up to provincial. I think federal would be good as well. But there's different responsibilities. Federally, their mandate is different, right? If I want to affect positive change for healthcare in Ontario, which is in a crisis, you would have to do that at the provincial level. Federally, they're more just like, collecting taxes and sending transfer payments to the provinces, and then the provinces implement healthcare on their own. On their owns.
Yeah.
All right. They owns it.
Nice
they
work.
owns the healthcare. Yeah, so municipal first and then provincial. Federal as well. I guess you need French for that. And French isn't really, I'm not so strong at French.
You could get there.
Yeah, for sure. Just, practice.
Étudier?
I'm not hungry, thanks though.
Okay, good. Well, I think to achieve a place in Canadian politics, you need to know a lot about Canada. Let's put your knowledge of Canada to the test. This is a segment we call Canadian Trivia. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Are you ready?
Let me sit up. Let's give it a try. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Canadian Trivia, question 1. Feeding almost entirely on insects, which is rare for an owl, which owl gets its name from ember-like markings on its face and can be found across Canada, the United States, and Mexico? Also, how long is its wingspan?
The flammulated owl and the wingspan, so it's 14 inches.
Okay, you are correct.
Yeah.
The flammulated owl with a wingspan of 14 inches.
Right.
Okay.
Grade 10. Yeah.
We start off with an easy one.
That's right. I'm surprised.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice job. You got that one.
Thank you.
Okay, question 2. As of 2011,
Yeah.
Which of Canada's provinces or territories had the highest share of its population that reported English as their mother tongue?
Okay. I'm going to go with one that I think isn't as diverse. Actually, no. Yeah. Newfoundland and Labrador.
You're correct.
Yeah.
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 Do you know the percentage of the population that English was the native language of?
97%.
Yeah, 97%, more than, actually more than 97%. Nice.
That last one was
Very
a
good.
guess.
I don't know how current, I mean, this answer is still correct, but I don't know what the numbers are
Okay.
for 2023. We're looking at 2011 data. So
I see. Well, there's been lots of immigration since then.
I'm sure there has, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, question 3. Are you ready? So far, by the way, 2 for 2. You're off to a great start. Question 3. Nobody's Supposed to Be Here and We Can't Be Friends were top 10 hits for what Toronto-born artist who got her start singing backup for Canada's very own Celine Dion?
Deborah Cox.
Deborah Cox
Yeah.
is correct.
Yeah.
Nice job. R.I.P. Deborah Cox. Actually, has she passed away? Or?
I'd like to think so. Yeah. I wish. I hope.
I'm not sure. We'll have to Google that. Maybe she's still with us. I hope you're still out there, Deborah.
Well.
Or she can't be friends with you, apparently.
Yeah. Well, she wouldn't want to be.
Okay. Well, she would respect you, though, I think, because so far you're 3 for 3. So very respectable score, a perfect score so far. Let's see if you can keep it up. Question 4. Which Canadian province has the largest percent of its total area occupied by water?
Which Canadian province?
Correct.
Total area. Water. See, it's not a territory. So that rules out 2.
You have to know this. You're a big geography guy.
Right, that's why it's pressure. It's either Ontario or Quebec because there's lots of fresh water. I'm going to say Quebec.
You are correct. And I have written down here, actually, Montreal.
Okay.
But not a province, right? Montreal is in Quebec. So I might have actually written this incorrectly, but you're correct.
Nice.
And question 5. Are you prepared for question 5? So far, 4 out of 4. All right, so this is for all the maple syrup, baby. You think you can get it?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Question 5. In what year did the Canadian Mint distribute the last pennies?
Okay. I wasn't in Canada at the time, but I remember reading this in the news. It's 2013 was the last year that they, I think, made pennies. But 2013 was the year. And so that was Stephen Harper. So we can thank Stephen Harper for that. Because at the time, it cost Canadians money to produce each penny. It was more than 1 cent to produce each penny. So certainly that was a very penny-wise, pound-wise move by then Prime Minister Stephen Harper.
So your answer is?
1904. 2013.
2013 is correct. Very well done.
Yeah.
Do you like that Stephen Harper fellow?
I'd like to thank Stephen Harper and Justin Trudeau for both Stephen Harper for introducing the tax-free savings account and Justin Trudeau for legalizing marijuana, because thanks to them, I was able to invest speculatively in marijuana stocks back in 2015, and that afforded me a down payment on the house.
Hey, very nice. So you're a drug dealer.
I like to think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm more of a drug keeper away, a drug dealer keeper away.
Dealer keeper aware.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Baz, you have proven that your Canadian knowledge is, I think, well qualifies you to be a politician at some point in the future.
Thank you.
So thank you for taking part in the trivia, but also in the entire podcast. Is there anything, any kind of lesson that you would like to teach the people watching? Any parting words, final words? Any advice? Is there a quote that you like that you want to leave? Is there a final thought that you would like to leave people with?
I hope that you found this educational and entertaining, despite my best efforts. Just really thanks for watching, and I hope to see you real soon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Baz.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Congratulations. I'm sorry I can't be around for the wedding.
That's all right. You weren't invited, but thank you for this.
Maybe I will make an appearance then. I like
Maybe
to
you will.
stick my nose in places where I don't belong. If there's a glass ceiling, maybe I'll be perched on top, looking in.
Ah!
All right. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
You did a very nice job.
Hey. Yay.
And yeah, that wraps it up. What else is on your agenda for tonight? What do you have to do?
Just go back and prepare for the wedding.